You know, around here we talk a lot about the Biden administration. This is one of the main reasons I started this very channel, is because of the Democrats and the Biden administration, the mainstream narrative machine constantly lying to us, putting out falsehoods all the time, twisting their narrative around, taking facts and skewing them to fit their narrative. But we talk about the Biden administration a lot because I truly believe that the Biden administration has done irreparable damage to our country through their policies, their open door policies of just allowing millions of migrants to flow illegally across our southern border. They're now starting to fly to Canada to come across our northern border because, you know, the northern border is not nearly as patrolled and watched, and it's much bigger, and there's a whole lot more open area for people to just cross right on over. So they're starting to get the picture and starting to go north because they might get caught on the southern border, right? Possibly. But we talk about the Biden administration, and this is something we covered a while back with their plan, their 5-year plan. That, you know, these administrations, they always put out these 5-year plans every 5 years for oil and gas leases out in the Gulf of Mexico and other places. And the Inflation Reduction Act supposedly was good for the oil industry. However, we know that the Biden administration said in 2019 that when he was in his race against Donald Trump, he said he would shut the oil and gas industry down. And he seems to be now doing that. That's right, y'all. What's up, everybody? How the hell's your day going? I hope y'all having a pretty good day. This here is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date, keep you informed so you can stay in the fight and push back against the machine, because we need to know what the government's doing, because they do a lot of underhanded stuff like the story we're going to talk about today. So if you're interested in keeping up with that stuff, smash that subscribe button for me and turn on your notifications, because YouTube, they ain't just going to put my video up in your feed. You got to hit that notification bell and it'll come up right to your inbox every single time. And if you also could, smash that like button for me. It would be a big favor to me. It helps the channel grow. It helps get this message out. But, you know, enough of all that. Let's get into the news right quick, y'all. Now, we've come to know the climate change movement, right? It's looking more and more like a cult, right? These people are absolutely insane. That they've just, like, was it yesterday? I read a headline that climate protesters were arrested outside of the Biden campaign headquarters, right? They're going after their own people, right? Biden and the Democrats, they're supposed to be the climate change people, right? All this BS. But these climate protesters know what the deal is. This is a cult. It's a skewed religion that they follow. And they are blind to the facts that the oil and gas industry is actually the basis for our modern way of life. These people don't seem to realize that if you take the oil and gas industry out of the equation right quick, like if we just stopped using oil and gas and all this other stuff, that within weeks, I think the estimates are upwards of 60 million people would die. Just boom. Because of medicines that are produced from the oil and gas industry. You know, soon to follow after that, you know, we would have no cars. We would have no means of transportation. We wouldn't be able to get goods and services to places where they go. That means it would be a whole hell of a lot harder for people to eat because we have no more fast food. Now you have to go and rob your grocery store. Oh, right quick, that goes out the window too. So now you're having to go out into the woods and find and kill animals so you can eat or you die. So within a month, you're looking at a mass genocide, essentially, because that's what these climate protesters essentially want, is a genocide. Whether they know it or not, which it doesn't seem to be that they do know it, otherwise they wouldn't feel that way the same way that they do. Because it's just absolutely insane to want to cut off oil and gas. When you look at all the facts, study after study has shown, you stop production of oil and gas and life grinds to a halt. Just boom, outright. Let's get into it though. Enough of my rambling. Oil and gas group files legal challenge amidst Biden administration's Gulf leasing plan. Yeah, we talked about this a while back, but we're going to get into it again because we're pushing back, folks. The biggest fossil fuel industry trade group on Monday announced a legal challenge against the Biden administration's 5-year plan for oil and gas leasing. In its petition filed in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, the American Petroleum Institute, or the API, argues the 2024-2029 Gulf of Mexico leasing plan issued by the Biden administration limits access to energy despite federal law requiring the development of a 5-year plan that best meets American energy needs. And you're going to see that this plan that they laid out is utterly insufficient. It pretty much forces us to rely on foreign oil. Now, when we had Donald Trump, he opened the taps right up. He opened that taps right up. We were getting to where we were damn near energy independent. Energy independence means that oil and gas is readily available and we don't have to purchase it from other nations. That's why gas got down to, around here, it was like $1.20 at its lowest. $1.20 per gallon. That is absolutely nuts. We haven't seen that since the early 2000s. Yeah, Donald Trump did that, y'all. And, you know, soon as Biden comes in, gas prices started shooting right on up. You know, they got upwards of 4 something around here, which is one of the cheapest in the country. There were places off in California where it was $8 and $9 a gallon, some reports were saying. That's insane. How can you pay that? That's double of what we were paying here. I couldn't imagine that. You can't afford to go to work at that point. The trade group specifically points to the 5-year program calling for a maximum of 3 lease sales between 2025 and 2029, with 2024 set to be the first year in nearly 50 years without an offshore lease sale. Wow. Yeah. So the Biden administration was absolutely adamant about shutting down the oil and gas industry, yet we had the mainstream narrative machine and the machine itself, the propagandists, the Biden administration saying, no, they've got all these leases, they blah, 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 blah. No, sorry. No, they don't. They lied to you. Demand for affordable, reliable energy is only growing, yet this administration has used every tool at its disposal to restrict access to vast energy resources in federal waters, Ryan Myers, API Senior Vice President and General Counsel, said in a statement. In issuing a 5-year program with the fewest lease sales in history, the administration is limiting access in a region responsible for generating among the lowest carbon-intensive barrels in the world, putting American consumers at greater risk of relying on foreign sources for our future energy needs, Myers added. That's right. So these people would rather purchase oil from overseas on the other side of the world, mind you, where there's not nearly as many restrictions on how the oil is refined and taken up out of the ground. We have very, very strict rules and regulations on how oil and gas is refined in the United States because of the climate religion, right? Fears that all this carbon dioxide, aka plant food, is getting put out there is causing global warming, right? Which it could be, but in my earnest opinion, I do believe that, you know, I still believe in human innovativeness, right? I do believe that we can innovate our way out of a climate change. I believe that technology will grow and grow and grow and get to the point to where we can offset all this carbon dioxide because we want to be good stewards of the planet, right? We don't want to destroy the planet. And we've shown that we can do this. As a matter of fact, with the ozone back in the 80s, we had a massive hole in our ozone. And when they stopped, they banned aerosols, certain chemicals in the aerosol cans and all this other stuff. We started slowly fixing our ozone to where it has almost been completely put back. So we have been proven that we can change the climate for the better. that we can innovate our way into a better climate, into being better stewards for our planet. And I believe we can do that. Technology is progressing at a rapid pace, a very rapid pace. And yet these climate protesters and this climate religion, they're still going hard, coming after everybody, wanting the genocide of, the world population for some reason. Like I said, whether they know it or not, it's almost unbelievable that they don't know it, because study after study after study has shown that if we just take out the oil and gas industry, within a month, you got 1 billion people dead because they can't find food anywhere, especially in the big cities where people rely on fast food, grocery stores, things like that to get their food. They can't, if you're in New York City, you can't just go out into the woods and kill a rabbit, right? You might be able to find a city rat, but yeah, try living off of that for a while. That ain't gonna work, folks. The Inflation Reduction Act requires the administration to lease at least 60 million acres of offshore gas and oil development on top of its offshore wind leases. The API has been a frequent critic of the Biden administration's energy policies, even as U.S. oil development has hit historic highs. No, I'm sorry. That's just not true. Has hit historic highs? Are you freaking serious? The language of the complaint echoes the group's initial reaction to the release of the 5-year plan in December, when Vice President of Upstream Policy, Holly Hopkins, said it could threaten to increase reliance on foreign energy sources. Right. Foreign energy sources that we have to purchase, have shipped from way over there on a ship. It's where, like I said, they don't have nearly as many regulations on climate for their oil refinement. That rhymed, sorry. So they're producing a whole lot more of toxic chemicals into the environment, where over here it's not nearly as many. We're highly regulated. These I live around like 10 different refineries that produce all kinds of stuff. They are very, very regulated. We do work in these refineries all the time. We have so many rules and regulations to go through, safety and all this other stuff. But it's just nuts, some of this stuff. I can't get into it on this video, but some of this stuff is just absolutely insane. However, the administration's oil and gas development policies have also sparked criticism from environmental advocates for allowing continued leasing in the Gulf. The footprint of offshore drilling was not expanded, but the dangerous cycle of drilling and spilling must end, Beth Lowell, Oceana's vice president for the United States, said when the plan was released. The Hill has reached out to the Interior Department for comment. The conservationist group Earth Justice, meanwhile, has filed a complaint alleging the plan fails to address environmental concerns. Fossil fuel development is untenable if we want a livable future, Earth Justice attorney Brittany Hardy said in a statement. What does she actually mean by that? It's untenable if we want a livable future. Like I've already said and laid out, study after study shows you shut off oil and gas, you kill millions upon millions upon millions of humans within a couple of weeks. That's not to stretch that out a little bit further into a few months where you'll probably have billions die because of medicines, because of technology. Your hospital, infrastructure would just shut down. We would not have energy plants anymore. No more electricity. Bye-bye. I'm sorry. Coal is part of that industry. These people want to push us back into life in the 1700s. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to give up my smartphone. I love my smartphone. I love being able to go to Whataburger and get me a number one, just the way it comes, with a Dr. Pepper. I love that. These people must hate that for some reason. However, you and I both know that they love going to get their caramel ribbon crunch venti from Starbucks or whatever. They love their smartphones and they love their internet. They don't realize that All this stuff goes away if you get rid of the oil and gas industry. If you get rid of fossil fuels, coal is a fossil fuel, and I think it's 85% of our energy grid runs off of coal. Yeah, we have nuclear power plants. I think we should expand nuclear power plants. I think all of our electric grid should be ran off of nuclear. That's my personal opinion. I think solar panels are also a very good idea. I would love to fill my roof with solar panels, just mostly because I would no longer have an electric bill. I would love that, right? I could actually sell some of that energy back to the energy company. The oil and gas industry is already sitting on 9 million acres of undeveloped leases. They certainly are not entitled to more. Although we acknowledge the government's focus on climate impacts with the release of its 5-year offshore leasing plan, we are taking legal action today because we are concerned about how it will jeopardize the health of overburdened communities. What a naive, ignorant statement that is. The health of the communities. We're talking about killing the communities, essentially. People would be at each other's throats with no electricity. I don't know about you guys. If you have ever lived through a hurricane when there is no electricity, it sucks. It sucks really, really bad. Right? There's no internet. There's no electricity. You have to go somewhere else to get water and eat MREs because you can't cook. It's absolutely nuts. And I don't like living through that. I want to move away from Southwest Louisiana because of that. And this whole thing about having all these 9 million acres of, they don't understand. When they say that they have all these leases and all this acreage of undeveloped area out in the Gulf of Mexico, that's not usable, right? I just so happen to work in a couple of years in the oil and gas industry at the tip of the spear of oil exploration, right? That deals with these leases. We worked on a survey boat. What we did, we went out and they block out the entire Gulf of Mexico in grids. And we take, X amount of these grids and we go out to one of them and we start dragging sonar equipment and other equipment to survey the Gulf of Mexico, and we just go back and forth. That's all we do when we collect data, and we send that off to analysts who analyze it to see if it's worth drilling for oil in these areas. They scan it with sonar and it penetrates, goes through the water, through the soil, and it can tell where oil is. I don't know how it works. It's magic to me, but that's what we did, right? These leases that they're talking about, those have already been explored. Yeah, they call them undeveloped, right? Because there's no point in drilling for oil if there's no oil there, right? They explore these blocks all the time. It's a constant. There's constantly probably dozens, if not hundreds of boats surveying the Gulf of Mexico constantly looking for oil. So they can't sell that to me. I know better than that. That is an absolute lie, what they're saying right there. That's an absolute lie. These places have been explored. They're not worth developing because it would be too hard to get to any oil that may be down there. But these people just don't seem to get it. And I've rambled on for long enough, but let me know what you think about all this down in the comments section. Should we cut off the oil and gas industry, and should we go back to a pioneer life, essentially, where we have to go out daily and go kill our food to eat? Where we have to struggle with no electricity and no cars, no cell phones, no internet, no medicines, no hospitals, no doctors, not like we have it today. They would send us back to the dark ages in an instant, almost. It's just nuts, folks. Or, should we just continue this and innovate our way out of climate change and innovate our way into carbon capture with graphene and all this other stuff and all this wonderful technology that's being developed? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. And that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day and be positive. Peace.